China to kill each other, the sponsors need you.
Wacha kuharibu wakati wangu. Una hamu ya nini? Unataka kuchukua mali ya Wanjala?
A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. This is NewsCheck here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, today we have quite a lot lined up for you. The Health Cabinet Secretary is in Mombasa and will be speaking about the COVID-19 preparedness of the counties, as well as coffee issues that are rife. We also have the Treasury CS Ukur Yatani is launching a survey on the impact of the pandemic on Kenyan households. This is the second survey he shall be launching, as well as the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya. He will be showcasing some gains that have been realized by farmers of coffee from the recently announced coffee reforms. All that will be coming up during this particular program. But now we want to have a conversation on matters the aviation sector. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday announced that on 15th July, the local flights will be able to resume and the resumption of international air travel will be on 1st of August. What does this mean for the economy, and specifically what does the sector have to do to ensure that it awakens itself post the COVID-19 period? And to give us this insight is Abdullahi Hassan. He is the Chief Executive Officer of iFly Air. Welcome on set.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. If you could just give us an overview of how the pandemic has impacted your company specifically.
Yeah, sure. The bit about the COVID-19 is a global pandemic, meaning it has affected across the globe, and iFly Air is not exemptional. Why? Because it has affected our staffs, it has affected our revenue generation, it has affected the networking that we use to have networks across local and international travel. So in terms of financial aspect, we are affected in a sense that there's no incoming revenue. We only have outgoing revenue, meaning we have some bills to pay in terms of rentals across all the offices across all the counties. We have staff who are on 50% pay cut who are supposed to be paid even if they're not working. So it is challenging times, and it has affected us big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
Of course, apart from the employees that you have to pay, there's also the maintenance of these planes that have been grounded for a while. How has that been for the past few months? Yeah. Absolutely.
Since the lockdown and the flights were on ground, meaning the flight is actually economical when it's in the air. So it means when it's in the ground, it is more costly. So these aircrafts, we got room for also maintenance. Why? Because when the aircraft, initially it used to have minimal time on ground, meaning the engineers used to struggle correcting certain snag on the aircraft. But now that the aircraft are on ground, we have made sure that all the checks and on the systems of the aircraft, in terms of the avionics, in terms of the airframes, are all catered for. So it gives us enough room to service our aircraft to 100% serviceability state. Yeah.
There has been a concern that the pilots that were supposed to be flying these planes have been jobless for a while now. They have not been going, in the air for a while now. What has been done to ensure that they remain top-notch in their skill even before they go on air again, on the air again?
Yeah, it's true. Pilots are rated based on checks in terms of ratings, may it be their proficiency ratings in terms of their health status, because pilots undergo on medical checks in terms of based on their age. Others undergo on 6 months, others for 1 year, others 2 years, based on the age of the pilot. But proficiency checks, pilots have thousands and thousands of hours of flying. Means experience, of course, is the best teacher, meaning if you have the best experience, even if you stay at home for like 3 months, when we resume, before the 15th for local travel, we have recurrency checks in terms of the pilots doing some circuit training, doing some instrument training for certain, maybe on 14th, to allow room for somebody to have enough ratings and to have the machines on controls to make use of the systems of the aircraft. So they use, it's like a driver. If when you're a driver, you know how to drive, but maybe you're out of the town. When you come back, you do some small checks within the estate, something like that. So we are ready, and by 15th, when we first have the first flight taken off, pilots are, not only the pilots, by the way, because the flight crew are all supposed to be on the best notch, the way you have said, on the high notch. The cabin crew, those who serve the, people know the cabin crew only serve in flight on board the flight, but they also have roles on board the flight, meaning in terms of safety, in terms of evacuation if emergency happens. All those people are supposed to be on checks in terms of the job they do daily basis. So those things were catered for. They were catered for. Yeah.
Well, now speaking about the whole aviation industry, KQ the other day said that there is a concern that there is a simulator that is not in Kenya for a specific type of a plane, and of course simulators have been used to keep the skills of these pilots on check. What is going to happen now to these pilots who maybe have not been in that simulator for a while?
The beauty about our crew in terms of the flight crew, of course we have the captain, we have the first officer. Right. Every person, before you are given control of an aircraft, you must have completed simulator training. May it be, because the aircrafts we use are Fokker 50s and the Dash 8s. Fokker 50s trainings are done in Holland. And for them to be allowed, to be given a command for the captain, then you must have achieved a certain regulations from the KCA side in terms of the numbers of hours of flying, the number of landings you have done, the number of takeoff you have done, the instrument in terms of the flight instrument, you must have done all those, and you must have done flight simulator training. So when they have already done, it's supposed to lapse. Every year you must have a renewal of the same. So people who have already, because your license expires, or your instrument or your license of certain item, if it expires, KCA itself will not allow you to continue with the job, because they already have daily inspections before even you fly. So that will mean pilots themselves worry. Because if you fly with a license which has expired, meaning you can be revoked from the license, meaning you will be grounded. Right. So imagine you being a pilot, that is where you get your daily bread, that's where you have your main job 100%, and then one morning you lose your license basically because of negligence. So it is the responsibility of the operator from the airline's perspective that we need to put, because there's somebody's job who's supposed to keep track of pilots' training, pilots' health, pilots' presence, all those are on record. So it's already, if you visit us on our headquarters, you will see even pilots' record. They are not even something hidden. They will be known as pilot so-and-so has this instrument rating expiring this date, this so-and-so medical ratings expiring on this date, meaning all those when it is already almost expired, you will have an alert. So there's no pilot who can dare do in terms of flying without a simulator training, without maybe incompetency at whatever side. Right. So it is the responsibility of the airline to make sure that thing is 100% solved. So you are saying 100% that even when flights resume, people should not worry about the proficiency of the absolutely. Okay, no problem. Now, before we delve into now the reopening or taking to the skies again, in about 2019, the International Air Transport Association, that's IATA, was foreseeing or forecasting that Kenya's industry, aviation industry, over the next 2 decades would grow by 11.3 million passenger journeys. That is more than doubling. And to a 1.1 trillion contribution to GDP. Those are big numbers. Yep. That was before the pandemic came in. Do you think these numbers still hold ground? Not really. Actually, those are statistics, and the statistics is based on the history of the travel. Of course, Kenya, we have also the records for how many people have been traveling locally or internationally. So that will mean the statistic-wise, because initially, imagine we can almost have daily like 900 flights taken off in terms of takeoff and landings in terms of Kenya daily. So that will mean revenue generation-wise, IATA is basing these things based on local travel and international travel in terms of the revenue that the country is making. Right. But now this thing is not possible the way you're putting it. Why? Because people, number one, where local travel are interlinked with international travel. So people who used to travel from all the way from US, for example, all the way from Italy, for example, come in here, they will go to Masai Mara for wild beast migration, they will go to Mombasa for beaches and what have you. Yeah. local tourism is interlinked with international. So people, number one, have the fear of traveling. So that will mean us, even for the local airlines who are on the market, we are only starting up with our local people who are not traveling for leisure, people who are traveling with need. Maybe, for example, they're stranded in Nairobi, they want to fly back to hometown in Mandera, for example. So I don't see those numbers anytime coming. So maybe a year or two, yes, we can recover from, we can catch up. But of course, Kenyans are hardworking people. Networks, our government is doing very well to do the network in terms of sailing the Fly Kenya. So we have a hope and prayer that things will normalize. But as we sit, from where I sit, I don't see it coming soon time.
All right. Now, 15th July comes. What are airlines doing to prepare for that day?
Number one, from iFly Air, from where we sit, we were given, of course, we had inspections from KC and KAS side on our side in terms of the fleets, in terms of the check-in areas where things happen, because as we are based in Wilson Airport. Number one, there is a certain terms which you need to comply before you are allowed or you are given the green light to start. So number one, of course, you need to have minimized contact with the passengers and the staff themselves. So on the check-in lounge, for example, you need to have a certain glass or something that you will not have contact with the direct one-on-one contact with the client. Number two, we have at the entry point from the check-in side, you need to have sanitizers, which you need to sanitize or wash your hands thoroughly. Of course, that will be facilitated by our own staff. Within the check-in area, people used to overcrowd and check in at the same time based on the check-in counters. Right. Now we have social distance in terms of the 1 meter apart rule. And then we also have masks. You need to have masks on board at any given time. So we provide also from our end in terms of masks, because Kenyans, you know, sometimes it's last minute rush. Somebody says, oh, I have 10 minutes to check in. They just come into check-in counter. You can't return a client because of a mask. So we have masks in place. Right. We have, and the other measures we have done, of course, you will also sanitize before you board the flight. So that means already when you are on board the flight, we also have made in-flight easy way, in a sense that initially when you are served in-flight, you are served with a biscuit, water, juice, hand-in-hand exchange with the cabin crew. Now we have all packaged under one, such that once the cabin crew hands over to you, then you go with it up to home. So that's the only contact you will have. Of course, the cabin crew are also wearing gloves to do that in-flight serving. Yes. Right. So we have done maximum measures to make sure that not only we prevent the spread of the COVID, but also to put it at halt in a sense that it should not start from our end going forward. Yeah, because you remember how the first case was brought through a flight. Definitely. So that's the thing people know. Yeah,
and the social distancing, as you've said, in the check-in areas, will it extend to the plane itself?
Social distance actually cannot apply to on board the plane. Why? Because it's not economical. Why? You know, the good thing with a vehicle is that even if a matatu like a 14-seater can be reduced to 7-seater, it will be economical. Why? Because in terms of the cost involved, operating cost of that vehicle to operate from point A to point B is something that can be budgeted in terms of if you top up like a 50 bob difference or 100 bob difference, then the client will increase the fare and travel. For airlines or for flight, for example, we operate on a 50-seater aircraft. 50-seater aircraft, if you reduce to 25-seater, that will mean like flying to Mombasa now we fly as low as 5,000, meaning it will be the cheapest fare you will get to Mombasa will be like 10,000. So definitely. The other higher fares, of course, which used to be like 7,000, 8,000, now will be 20,000. So that will kill the industry in terms of flight, because airlines, if you reduce the numbers mandatory-wise, then we have to increase the cost in terms of the fares. That will mean, because nothing will come cheap, the operating cost is constant.
Right. Yeah. So even as you are not going to do social distancing on the plane. KQ said the same thing definitely during their AGM last week. Yeah. What is being done to ensure that despite people being close to each other, they are not going to, pass the virus to one another?
Well, one thing we say, of course, when we are starting up, because we are also on a pilot project, is that we don't expect a full board, like 100% people on board. So when already we have, for example, like 20 on board, 25 on board, 30, we will do social distance within ourselves, such that because as we operate on a free sitting, we don't have like you being on a seat number 1, Hassan being on seat number 2. It's not on the system, so it is a free sitting. So when somebody comes in, they will board on row basis, starting from the last row, coming all the way up to the front row. So somebody will say, because we have the numbers on board that it's 25, we will say, you sit on number 50, and then you sit number 48. We disperse within. But when the real time comes and people come full board, then people will have to maximize in terms of wearing masks, sanitizing, and then fly, because it's just a matter of 1 hour. And then when you go to the destination, of course, at the airport, they have their own way to screen in terms of temperature check, sanitizing, washing hands. Procedures is the same. So it is interlinked. KCA operators working together to achieve this. Yeah.
The reopening of the air travel, the transport, you know, all these counties definitely means more tourism uptake, right? Yeah. So what will that mean now for the aviation industry?
Of course.
As you said, people will not probably be traveling for leisure any soon, but the time will come, right?
Absolutely, the time will come, because you know, there's some destinations which are known for tourism in terms of Mombasa, Malindi, Diani, and Masai Mara. Basically, few people travel for business or for just normal domestics, or maybe going home. So it means 99% or 90% depend on tourism in terms of people who are exploring Kenya. So if those people are, for example, normal Kenya, let's speak about me and you. We have a situation where people are struggling, that maybe you have a pay cut from where you sit. I don't know about KBC, but maybe you got a big pay cut. You are struggling with normal issues in terms of paying the bills and what have you. It will click to your mind that you want to travel to Masai Mara for wild beast migration. You go into Mombasa for, of course, people are bored at home. Many people, we have some bookings already on place. People want to travel to Mombasa and Malindi because people are bored in-house and they want to see the beaches again and what have you. Those are there. But tourism, as we speak, will not pick any time soon until maybe next year, mid, for example. So that is because tourism, when we are talking about the highest number, is people from outside international travel. So from where I sit in terms of my projection and analyticals, we project maybe next year or early next year or mid next year.
Is when the tourism will pick. But now, even as you say that we normally, or the industry largely depends on international travelers, there is the market for the domestic tourism or domestic travel. What should be done to ensure that this market is tapped? Because, as you've said, quite a few counties are where you can travel by air. So even if you want to go home, say I wanted to go home, I can't go home via plane. I'll have to land in Eldoret, then take a matatu to Kabarnet, you know. So what can be done to ensure that more people who can afford this service can get it?
Number one, of course, some things must be done from the support of the government side in terms of creating these networks. Why? Because now that devolution is there, county governments, every county will want to have their independent airports. So it is up to them now to rebudget and put airports in place, even if it's an airstrip, because we sometimes, even Mandera, being a big county, we operate on an airstrip, Maram. But we have like 4 flights flying daily to Mandera. Why? Because there's a need. Traveling by road is hectic than by flight. Of course, flight takes 2 hours. By road takes like 2 days, for example. Yeah. So it is a real hassle. So the way you have put it is true, that it is number one government role to maybe the county government or the national government to make sure we have airports in place all across, because sometimes that is what connects trade. That's what connects people actually interlinking in terms of business, because some people may think there's no business that exists between, for example, Eldoret and Mombasa, for example. There is a business link. Why? Because Eldoret, they have milk, for example, want to truck to Mombasa. Mombasa people have certain thing like for example, coconut or something thing. So the trade already exists, yes. But creating the networks and opening and people to see there's a diverse and there's a opportunity, then it must be with the hands from the government support. Because as we are willing to fly daily to any destinations, regardless if there's a business that exists, but we are limited, the same way you have said, by the facilities available in terms of airports, in terms of airstrips. So I think I can say the buck stops at the government to support the industry in terms of creating these networks. Yeah.
So you feel more financing and attention needs to be given there?
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah.
And the county governments themselves?
Yeah, of course, you know, priorities in terms of every county government is different. Yeah. Why? Because others budget to put maybe to build a stadium than an airport. That is their own planning. Why? Because they have their own way to say maybe sports are not taken seriously in the county level. So we want to maximize and put a lot of budget for sport. But also remember, aviation industry also, it brings a lot of that sports tourism. It opens up a lot of many other sectors. So it is actually sometimes when the governors are on board this kind of interview, ask them that these kind of things, why are you, how do you prioritize? Of course, they have budgets and priorities in terms of the way every, for example, from the county I come from, like Wajir, budgets are passed based on ward development funds. In terms of every MCA will have its own budget and say, my ward will require this, my ward will require this. No MCA or no certain member of the county assembly will bring an issue, say that my ward requires an airport or an airstrip. So those are the things that now ties hands the county government. But in terms of if it could be a project for national government, then it could be a good thing for us to achieve. Yeah.
And for the counties that even have this infrastructure like the airstrips and the airports, there has been quite some uproar about the quality of infrastructure. Like, for example, in Masai Mara, the roads, now you've gotten to the airport, you have alighted, now the roads that connect you, yeah? What are your thoughts about that?
By the way you put it is true that airports, when they are built based on categories in terms of the fire support that they are given, in terms of the instrument installations, because sometimes weather is too bad that you cannot land in Wilson, for example. That's why flights are diverted to Jomo Kenyatta. Why? Because even if there is a zero visibility, flights can be navigated direct until to the touchdown. Why? Because the instruments are there before the runway, such that before you land, you have the localizer, the glide path, you have the marker beacons. Systems, those are expensive equipments which needs to be installed. But the most important thing that we need to see even before those other items are brought on book is the paved service in terms of the runway and the taxiway. Even we need not to have in terms of the terminals, those can come later. But in terms of the landing, because aircrafts who fly to a certain destination are measured based on the weight of the aircraft. Because sometimes there's some aircraft which cannot land in Wilson Airport based on their weights. Yeah. So the same way you said is true that not only even creating the runway, the taxiway, up to the standard required, the networks in terms of the roads must also be taken care of. Why? Because somebody who wants to catch up a flight from that county will need to travel by road. Or the same way you said that you have traveled to Eldoret by road and you want to go to, was it Kapsaret or you said Kabarnet, yeah, by road. So that means the road access should be very good. And I have a dream that one time Kenya will reach that far. Yeah. We
will reach that far indeed. Now let's talk about the providers, the iFly, the jumbo jets. There was a gazettement in, I think, last month about quite a number of airlines seeking to expand their routes. So this is a clear indication that the providers need or want to expand and access other markets. Yeah. What do you think about that?
If I got your question right, is that you know, local operators for airlines which are already existing in the market are very few. In terms of the person who is regulating this, you know, the beauty about aviation industry, it is a well-regulated industry in a sense that somebody cannot wake up today and say, I will have my own airline, I will have my own aircraft. Why? Because the regulations and the level and the steps and the checklist you need to ascertain is too long, such that you can give up in the way. Easily, but it is because of the safety. That's why the mode of transport for air is the safest way to travel. I don't know where, there's a times that we used to have some incidents that have happened in Wilson. It brought a lot of uproar. But if you were to compare in terms of the standards of the accident and incidents that are received from the aviation industry, is the safest mode. Why? Because roads every day we have accidents, but they are not put in. I'm sorry, you don't put a lot of effort in regards to addressing that issue. So, if I got your question right, is airlines in terms of which exist already in the market are very few. So we need also to support these, because there's a time when Kenya was given the direct flight to the US. ICAO, Civil Aviation Authority Organization, were already on the country, and they have given certain measures such that we don't need to have a briefcase airlines on board Kenya. Why? Because you can be here, you have a briefcase airline, but you are not flying. So all airlines were closed. All airlines were subjected to fresh recertification. Even those ones which exist in Jumbo Jet, Skyward Express, Silverstone, Jetways, all of them were brought on a fresh checklist in a sense that you need to reapply again. So that reduced the number. Now we are operating on a few airlines. Even iFly, as we speak, we have certain levels we have not accomplished, of which now we have partnership with other airlines in terms of the destinations which other airlines are flying. We also have access to booking them in terms of the Skyward Express flying to Malindi, Mombasa, Ukunda, and Wajir. So we have interlinked them in a sense that any person who books a flight with iFly can get access to book a flight to SafariLink through us. We can book a flight with Jetways Airlines. We can book a flight with the Skyward Express. So we want a situation like America or developed countries have that freedom, in a sense that business is diverse. Not that only that we follow one line, one path. You know, like Venyakondoziko. You don't say that this is the rule that was set from the colonial times. I'm saying example, yeah? These rules are subject to be changed based on the need on the market. So that when we have certain things in place, then many people will be motivated and start their own airline slowly by slowly until they make it, yeah? Not really saying that we only have Jumbo Jet and the big guys and the Skyward and the Silverstone and Jet. Say that any person can be an airline owner in a sense that you achieve this by this step. For you to have, for example, as initial booking flights, you start from a travel agency, get an air service license, get an AOC by step, because the AOC is the ultimate chance where you are given the go-ahead.
Okay.
So those are the challenges that exist in our industry, which maybe are not known. Of course, we will have another discussion, maybe another day, to diversify and maybe bring the director of the Civil Aviation Authority to
ask him those questions.
Such kind of questions, yeah.
Right. So do you feel that the regulation is not favoring the industry?
Absolutely, there's a lot of things which need change, not really real change, but even amendments to address issues which is touching base on the real ideal Kenyans. Because many people are stuck in between, stuck in between by those tough regulations. These regulations are there put by human beings, just like us. So it means people need to sit down with a sober mind, not addressing individual interests, saying that this is where we are in. Going forward, what are the main things which exist in the market? All these pending, for example, applications for these services are here. What do they want, for example? They want for them to fly. Fly in a means of what? Safety, number one, security. Those things, if they comply based on their need, or sometimes they can partner with another airline if that regulation is there, so that they can serve the same interest.
Right.
You know, like for example, Ryanair, for example, it's not an airline, but it sells tickets interlinked with all the other airlines, and guys are making it, and it has reached up to here where we are in Kenya, and they're doing the same.
Right.
Yeah, so the same way you have said, a lot must be done. If we need really to expand the market and flights to be cheaper. Because when the competition is high, then of course opportunities is there, and then the rates will be cheaper. But if there's a monopoly, if Kenya Airways, for example, remains on the market only, and all these other airlines close the doors, yeah, it becomes a very disaster.
Because they can decide what they want to decide,
sure,
you know?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the international travel. On 1st August, they will start again. How long do you think, or what do you foresee in terms of it picking up?
International travel, number one, is even Kenyans. The minds we have is that this pandemic or this coronavirus, COVID-19, is not here in Kenya. That's most people what they believe. They believe that it is in outside. So somebody who wants to travel, for example, like me, who wants to travel to China, for example, for my own business, I will have that question in my mind that, will I be safe coming back? Yeah. So there's some people who are already on hold, waiting for this thing to be reopened so that they can do their business and come back, regardless of their risk involved.
Right.
But all these things sometimes is individual self-control, travel, do your business. But in terms of the numbers that we project, international travel, I can say it will not be that much. It will not be that much based on, of course, even the government itself, the ministries have been controlled in terms of their travel. Yeah, they are now don't have that rule in terms of that they have their own budget for their international travel unless things change. But once the doors are open, Kenya Airways, of course, will be starting their flights back to international. Other operators, the big guys, Qatar Airways, will be coming, yes. But in terms of the numbers we used to have, it will not be even 50%.
It will not be 50%.
Yeah.
Well, this conversation continues. Remember, we are talking about the aviation industry, just what it will take to reawaken this industry, considering that the local flights resume on 15th July, 1st August for the international air travel. Now, remember, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. Mine is at Betty Kiptum. Tell us what you think. Are you planning to travel any soon? And do you feel safe getting on that plane? Well, stay with us. We will be back with more. Take you to that event by the Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, who is launching the survey on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Kenyan households. Let's listen into that.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Betty Kiptum. I mean, I've just come from, a briefing on socio-economic activity and the impact of coronavirus on Kenyans, aged between the years of 18 and above. And it's showing a very worrying trend whereby as a huge or a big segment of people within that age bracket, have reported that they are going through some sort of financial difficulties, if you like. Others are going through some health challenges as well. And the interesting thing is that this has just happened in a span of 60 days, if you like, to 2 months since the last report was released. And some of the key interesting findings is that on working status, 48.5% of the working population were self-employed, and they were having challenges with income, with a significant portion of these saying that their income levels have plunged by almost 50%, meaning that they are having difficulties when it comes to sustaining themselves or sustaining the livelihoods that depends on them. Another interesting finding is that out of these, about 41% were male, compared to about 28% who were female, and these were the people who according to this report, said that they're having challenges, meeting their daily financial obligations because of coronavirus. Another interesting finding is that 23% of the people who were interviewed during this report is that 23% of these people, they had to sit down with their banks to renegotiate their loan terms. The CS was a little bit sketchy when it comes to the details of how much had been renegotiated and the long term of these loans, but it's worth remembering that about a month or so there were reports from the commercial banks that they had renegotiated loans to the tune of 297 billion shillings. That was a month ago, so you can be guaranteed that the number absolutely looks different from now. Another interesting thing is that the PS says, or the CS says that because of the coronavirus or the impact of coronavirus on the Kenyan economy, the Kenya Revenue Authority is likely to miss its revenue target by a whopping 300 billion shillings. The last time I had an engagement with him, this number was about 250 billion shillings, and analysts are saying that this is actually way optimistic than the reality on the ground, bearing in mind that in the last 2 months of the financial year 2019-2020, there was a significant reduction in pay-as-you-earn, as well as value-added tax, which came down from 16 to 14%, and this even Kenya Revenue Authority has said actually that it will have a significant impact on its revenue collection, but we are still waiting to see the official figures and how everything will pan out. But according to the CS, from the analysis on the ground, because of the reopening of the economy, economic activities have started to pick up, and we are not likely to see a significant impact as it was expected. However, this will all depend on whether the country will be forced to go back into lockdown if there was a significant surge in number of cases. And so this is something that we are watching, and we are keenly, or the government is keenly watching to see how it pans out. Another interesting aspect of this discussion was that for reasons that banks are yet to understand, and even the government itself is yet to understand, is how come, since banks issued a moratorium on the servicing of loans and urging borrowers, to go and have a discussion with them if at all they were having a challenge, in repaying their loans. An interesting pattern is this: a lot of people have not actually taken advantage of this, and it is beyond the understanding of why a lot of people have not taken advantage of this loan restructuring period that had been given by the banks. And so they will also be trying to find out how comes that a lot of Kenyans are not willing to go and sit down with their banks and relook at their loan repayment. Something else worth noting is that about 60% of people have reported that they have cut down on their transport habits because they are afraid of contracting this disease, and some of them have also said that this is as a result of the high cost of transport since the pandemic was announced in the country. And of course, it's worth remembering that even public transport vehicles have been enforced, to also put in place social distancing measures, and this have actually reduced the number of passengers, by almost 50%. And guess what? The cost has not been met by the matatu owners or public transport owners. I mean, it has been met by passengers who are now being forced to pay an extra between 60 and 100% more on what they were paying before. We'll definitely be watching to see whether there will be a significant change going forward, bearing in mind that only yesterday the Cabinet Secretary in charge of transport, CS James Macharia, announced a raft of measures aimed at reopening the transport sector in the country, whereby we expect the standard gauge railway line, to start operations from Monday, and of course the aviation industry as well is expected to start reopening from next month. Another interesting finding from this report is that about 14% of the respondents, have changed their means of transport, and this is very interesting because 62% of these, they've said they would rather walk than board any form of public transport, and all these was because a combination of fear factor as well as transport cost factor. So 62% of people, opting to walk to work. I mean, that is a huge number, and that throws me back to the year, I think 2004, when Kenya was labeled as a walking nation because of some regulations that was brought about by the former transport minister, the late Michuki. Another interesting finding in this report is that majority of Kenyans, at about 61%, this is a little bit sad, they said that they were unable to pay rent. 61% of the people who were, surveyed in this report, 61%, if I can try to put it in layman's language, is about 6 out of 10 people were unable to pay rent. And the question is, have they been thrown out of their houses, or have they been given a grace period by landlords and so much? I do not. But what is coming out clearly is that the whole impact of coronavirus on Kenyan livelihoods, I mean, this is likely to be felt in the coming months. That's when we'll definitely get to understand how badly, a lot of Kenyans were impacted by this. Another interesting finding is that about a third of the households, which is about 33%, had not put in place any coping mechanisms to counter the effect of COVID-19 on their ability to pay rent, which means that 3 out of 10 people, did not have what you would call a precautionary facility to ensure that they continue with their house rent payment. And this is actually a sign that a lot of Kenyans actually do not have are yet to embrace the the saving culture, or they do not actually have anything to save. They feed from hand to mouth, and that is the unfortunate situation in this country. When it comes to food, 78.1% of those who are surveyed by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in the last 1 month, they said that they had some form of food stocks in their barns, if you like it. This can be explained by the fact that majority of Kenyans are farmers, all right? And in the last 3 months, the country has been receiving above average rainfall. And so that tells you that, there was a lot of food the situation would have been absolutely different if the country was going through a drought period. So that explains why 78.1% of the respondents who responded to this survey, you know, they said that they had some form of food stock in their households. The question is,
well, that is O'Brien Kimani there, just giving us a detailed update of that survey by the Treasury about the impact of COVID-19 on Kenyans' livelihoods. Remember, he has said 48.5% of people have been having challenges in income levels or sustaining their livelihoods, 61% unable to pay their rent, unfortunately, and 40% have also changed their means of transport. Quite a detailed report there by O'Brien Kimani, and he will be bringing us more details as we continue. But first, let's remind you of what we are following up on our reporter's diary.
Bwana Kisaka, vipi? Nilikuambia uende zako ndo usirudi hapa kabisa.
Umechiki kama?
Kama yuko heri, hata bibi yake pia yuko.
Sasa wewe na Kasheshe Mob, nani amekuuliza story ya bibi yake? Mimi nadai kucheki tu kama.
Hiyo story tumeshoka nayo na tumeshoka nayo.
Na tena tuko na stress zetu huko. Unajua hivi?
Nishukue Mungu. Shukuriwa. Nilikosea kabisa kuoa. Unamaanisha nini? Kazi ni kuchekeshana huku tu. Hakuna kitu kingine. Ndio mapenzi hayo. Wacha ikae.
Thank you for staying with Channel 1. This is NewsCheck. My name is Betty Kiptum, and here in studio we are discussing matters the aviation industry. With me is Abdullahi Hassan. He is the Chief Executive Officer of iFly Air. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you very much.
Now, moving forward, what is expected of the industry, or what can Kenyans or the market expect from the industry?
We expect, of course, a low turnout of numbers of people flying, but that, of course, Kenyans recover very fast. Of course, when the new normal people used to, of course, the fear of unknown, these things comes out of their mind. Of course, we expect people to come back to the normal routine, of course, with the following the government directives. The other thing also we expect is fares of flight going down, because that is as a result of fuel costs going down. Why? Because after the pandemic, actually, of course, now it has coming back to higher side, but the fare, the fuel, avgas, Jet A1, the prices have gone down. Meaning, of course, we have to scale down also as we reduce the number of routes we used to fly. Yeah, because routes like Malindi, the Mombasa, of course, is a hub. We can't forfeit, but the like Masai Mara, Malindi, Lamu, there's some routes which we need to scale down. Of course, we will just fly the more demanded routes. So we expect flight fares to go down, some routes to be cancelled. Of course, as we wait for the people to come back and maybe the demands to come higher. Also, we expect for many airlines, this is across all the other airlines, that the number of staff used to work for those airlines also being reduced. So it's called the new normal. People will see a lot of things happening. Even the environment of the airport, a lot of things will change in terms of the setup that they used to see. Of course, people used to check in initially iFly, go to the VIP lounge, order some tea at the cafeteria, which used to be there. Those things will be having a lot of restrictions. People on gloves, people wearing masks, others being on other funny masks. So there's a lot of things which are expected from the face value and also from the revenue aspect in terms of we will be struggling. Yeah, not only for iFly, but all the other operators in terms of the airline. They will be having some turbulent times ahead. But we are very prayerful and having high hopes that things will normalize. People will catch up with the new normal. And the way we used to fly, we fly in big numbers. Yeah.
Of course, there is a cliche saying that when you hit rock bottom, the only way is up. So definitely there will come a time when the industry has recovered.
Absolutely.
When that time comes, all these jobs that have been lost will be regained, so to say. Do you think that the professions or the skills that are required in that sector, are they sufficient?
Absolutely, they're sufficient because in aviation industry, the flying schools, the aviation schools in terms of like the East Africa School of Aviation, schools are there not only for fresh intake, but also for recurrence trainings. Recurrence training in terms of like the crew resource management, like the dangerous goods regulations, like aviation security. Those things are regulations or short courses which you need to have a recurrence for every year. So meaning, even if this person is rendered jobless after the post-COVID, that means when we are taken back based on the initial qualifications, it is the responsibility of the operator, like the airline, to retrain back those people. Because when the HR takes you based on your papers, yes, of course, but recurrence, for you to practice the job that you have the license for, we have a certain responsibility to train further that person and also to make sure that they are in compliance with the regulations of the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. So it is both sides of the coin. Yeah.
And in terms of communication now for the airlines and how they are communicating with their clients or the people they would want to attract right now, do you think they're doing enough?
Of course, no, we cannot say it is enough. Why? Because every airline, they have their own way to prove their level of readiness. Of course, we got some inspections and assurances from the authority side. But individually, of course, we sent messages and emails to all our travel agents across the country. Those travel agents now have interlinked with the clientele. Why? Because if our travel agents are the ones who make bookings, so it means those travel agents will also communicate further with their other clientele. Also on our end, we broadcast it on our websites, where the website is live. People can see what's happening, the news sites. And also on the other aspect is we have messages which we send to the people who are on our systems in terms of their numbers. So we try to communicate, but the response in terms of flight booking, so far what we have seen for the flights we have activated for 15th going forward, there's routes which have high demands in terms of Mombasa, Mandera, Wajir, but very few for Masai Mara, Diani, those destinations which we used to go for hype and what can I say, for leisure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, leisure travels have really gone down. Earlier on, that report by the Treasury, it indicated that 40% of people have changed their means of transport. 48, about 50% of people, their incomes have been affected, you know. So that means on an individual level, the income or the amount of money they would have to travel on an airplane has gone down, right?
Yeah, sure. It is true that the numbers, of course, it's something we expected to go down, but it's not in a level where people will be walking. Because I had O'Brien saying that it will be like a walking nation, the way late Michuki said. But I mean, in terms of destinations which you cannot afford not to fly, is the destinations we have really focused on.
Okay.
Of course, Mombasa is a destination which somebody can go by road because the road is very good. But destinations like Mandera, where we have high flights, flying daily flights, is a destination which you cannot dare to fly, go by road, not only just to fly. So as far as the pocket, because what dictates for somebody to travel by flight is, number one, is the pocket. So if the pocket is small, in a sense that you are struggling with other issues, like of course he mentioned about people 60%, the way he said, are failing to pay rent. So it means the same people are the people we are looking forward to them to travel by flight. So the way initially it used to be flying, used to be leisure, but now flying is a necessity because you do the calculations and the math involved for you to travel by road from here to Eldoret by road. The fuel of the car itself is worth the flight ticket. Why will you want to hustle yourself in a many hours on the road while you can have just a luxury flight all the way to Eldoret? So we expect those numbers to go down. People, of course, we have that thought that they're struggling. That's why we have reduced the cost involved. But also it becomes win-win situation. So we are monitoring on the system. When we have seen the flights, people booked like half. The other half, instead of going like empty, we reduce the flight. Because for flight to take off from point A to point B, the operational cost is very high. Number one, you need to have the flight itself. For example, the flights that you see operating here locally are either on lease, or, of course, leases are different. There's a wet lease, dry lease, and when you lease an aircraft, it's like a car hire. So the owner of that aircraft will require you to pay certain money on our basis.
Okay.
So it's not about today car hire like 2,000 per day, not like that. It is on hourly basis of flight. So this aircraft, there's a flight, there's a money that you need to pay. KCA, you need to pay them in terms of navigational charges. Yeah, KCA, you need to pay navigational charges. KA, you pay them landing fee and the parking fee. KRA, you pay them departure taxes. That is the airport service charge, like 600 per passenger. Yeah, so all those costs, fuel charges, yeah, of course, the in-flight cost, the crew salaries, all this combined now makes you understand that this aircraft, for it to take off from here to Mombasa and come back, it exhausts 2 hours of flight time. It also exhausts these expenditures. So that is what is divided by the number of people we expect to travel by that flight, based on classes. Yeah.
Then now the pricing comes in.
Now the pricing comes. That's why now we have reduced the cost to make sure everybody travels very comfortably. So this flight thing, by the way, united Kenya for a big time. Why? Because the poor person, yeah, the normal Wajikus, yeah, can travel now as cheap as 3,000 to Mombasa. Right. It has never gone that low. Yeah, we used to have even the promotional fares, meaning 3,000 already you deduct 600 for KRA, which is departure taxes, remain 2,400. Deduct like 400 because the biscuit and the juices you drink in flights not free. 400. So those small costs actually is what makes minimum flight, because we are a low cost carriers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. When people fly, they don't just get on a plane and fly for no reason. Some fly because they're going home for leisure, for business. So that means, as you said, the tourism sector is interlinked with this industry. Yeah. There must be a reason for people to fly.
Yes.
So what do you think can be done in terms of product diversification to attract people to the aviation industry or to air travel?
Yes. Of course, the way you have said is true. We are interlinked, but that will mean that we have also hoteliers. Hoteliers are people who are already have been empty since the COVID-19 hit us. So when the flights were grounded, means those hotels were closed. So now that the hotels are open, they depend with us. So that means we have, like the way, for example, some companies do, like the tour operators, the way they do is that they have bargained with the hotels, showing that for 3 nights, for example, on a weekend is this cost. They have bargained on the airline also separate that flying from here to Mombasa and coming back is how much? This much. They bargain to the minimum. So the bargaining they have done with the airline, the bargaining they have done with the hotel, that's how they bring the tour operators that flying to Mombasa on a 3-day vacation, for example, is this much. So if you monitored very well in terms of like example of Bonfire guys, yeah, they have reduced their packages in terms of the initial packages they used to have, that they have reduced the cost. Why? Because in order to make sure that they have enough clientele, and also to retain their clientele. Why? Because if you used to travel by flight, for example, with iFly, then today, because my fares are high, and then Jambojet, for example, advertises for cheaper fares, of course you will travel to Jambojet. And then once you travel to Jambojet, you say, oh, okay, iFly was given us a bad service if you compare with Jambojet, and you go like that forever. So I will not recapture back that clientele. Right. And so to get to that going, we monitor with other airlines how they are doing, how their prices are fluctuating, how are the tickets being sold. So with that thing combined, this industry, what they do is we are companies, because all the travel agents have bodies which are like Kenya Association of Travel Agents, which sits on their behalf. We have the KATO, Kenya Association of Tour Operators, on board. We have the hoteliers. All those guys, when they meet, of course, across all this COVID, we used to have Skype interview with each other. We have web interconnection across all of them. When all that thing happened, they bring a recommendation. Others also address to the CS, to tourism. So once all that is solved, then it eases and raises an awareness, showing that now the things where we used to have like the fear of unknown is changed, and we can travel back safely. By so doing, hotels have won, airlines have won, taxi people who used to ferry people from the airport to the hotel have also won. So it becomes a win-win situation for all of us.
Right, it's definitely a ripple effect. Now, as we just come to a close of this interview, what would be your closing remarks specifically to the future of the aviation industry? Mine
is to give hope to the people who are struggling, may it be the corporates or clientele that we used to have, all the normal clientele. So what we can tell them is that we have hope. Hope there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Let us follow the government directives the way we were told. Keep distance, wear a mask, sanitize, you know, all those regulations. When you follow all those recommendations, by the health ministry, then we will win this thing. And this thing is real, because I have seen people saying that the people are acting to show that on our live Instagrams and what have you, saying that this thing is something that is acted. Nobody will want to act that I have a corona, for example. They are sick. So we need to learn a lesson out of it and say, this is real. What am I expected individually? Leave off the government side. What are you expected? I'm expected to follow this government. It's a simple thing. But once we follow that, as we support from where we are in terms of you flying and interconnecting you to the destinations with the regulation, the same regulations that we are tasked to do, then we become a safe country, we become a healthy country, and then, of course, Kenyans are hardworking people. This thing will be forgotten, and it will become a story to tell other generations to come on the way we will handle ourselves going forward.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Quite the message of hope there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That is Hassan Odada Abdullahi Hassan. He is the CEO in charge of iFly Air, and we have been talking about the aviation industry, what it takes to reawaken it, and that it is safe to fly. Well, that is a conversation we've had. Thank you very much for listening to that. We will be back with more, including a conversation on the textile industry, just what is happening, how much of local production is being taken up locally, and what can be done to ensure that that industry reaches its potential. That will be coming up in a little bit. Stay with BizCheck.
Nani napiga? Nani napiga? Mimi sijapotea. Niko tu hapa. Mimi niko hapa kwa kuna tu mimi niko nakuja. Don't mind. Wacha hata usikate simu yako. Mimi ndio hii nimefika, hata angalia
kupata baba anakuja. Bonyeza star 811 star 962 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 962 hash.
What happens when you introduce rice farming to a society that has been fishing for the better part of their lives? The story at the Lower Kuja irrigation scheme is finally changing.
Tunakuja kutwanga mchele alafu wanatupako mchele na pesa kidogo ya kujisaidia.
As the once upon a time fishermen of Nyatike find their way into the history books of rice producers in the country.
Na huko baharini tulikuwa tunaweza enda na samaki ukose samaki kabisa na ukuje bila hata shilingi moja.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Hey, asante sana. You know, they say, if you want it, you work for it. I still can't believe my eyes. Why? What is wrong with your eyes? What are they telling you?
Julia.
Yes.
Julia.
Yes, useme kile unataka kusema.
Define some things more.
I am safe. Sisia, I've got you, my brother. Hey, and you can strike because you cannot eat within the school compound. You low-class people have issues.
You thought I wouldn't find out, didn't you? How dare you people mistreat another teacher? A teacher who is only here trying to help you drive out ignorance. Everyone down!
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Please don't tell me you shaved off my eyebrows.
Are you the one?
Can I take you somewhere?
You are so going on a date with Will Trainer.
It's too booby.
Get the red dress out.
I don't want to go in yet. I just want to be a man who's been to a concert with a girl in a red dress. A few minutes more.
Loving can heal.
I promised my parents 6 months, and that's what I've given them.
But that was before me.
I want him to live, but only if he wants to live.
We can't just let this happen.
You can't change who people are.
I mean, what can you do?
You love them.
And if you
I don't want you to miss all the things that someone else could give you.
I can make you happy. I have become a whole new person because of you.
Do you know something, Clark? You are pretty much the only thing that makes me want to get up in the morning.
wait for me to
Thank you for staying with Channel 1. This is BizCheck and I am Betty Kiptum. Lensa Odingo is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. We now want to delve into a conversation that has seen quite a number of people rendered jobless, that is the mitumba sector in Kenya. Remember that there was a ban on the importation of mitumba clothes because of the thought, or rather the idea, that it could be able to transmit the COVID-19 virus. How far is that directive and what is happening in the industry? Peter Kagiri, the coordinator of the Mitumba Association of Kenya, is here to give us that insight. Welcome on set.
Thank you.
Could you just give us an overview of the state of the industry right now?
Kulingana vile sasa hivi soko imekuwa kuko na shida mingi sana, kwa sababu wakati ministry ilisimamisha hii mambo ya mtumba kuingia Kenya, watu wengi wameteseka sana. Because wenye walikuwa wanapata mizigo kutoka Gikomba kupeleka mahali kama Eldoret, Kisumu, wapi, kuna uhaba wa mali tangu March. Because hakuna kitu kimekuwa kikiingia kwa hiyo muda mrefu. So watu wako na shida, mizigo iko na ngumu kupata. Hata wale wanapata kidogo kidogo. Anajua hii kulingana vile maisha ya Gikomba, vile maisha ya hiyo business. Sasa tuko Mitumba Association of Kenya, tunaifufu watu wote wa Kenya hii mzima. Wale wanadili na hiyo mzigo directly ni kama watu milioni 4. Wale ambao tano wana benefit indirect kama 12 to 16 million. Ndani ya huko kwa soko kuna watu wa kuuza shai, kuna watu wa mikokoteni, kuna watu wa bodaboda. Hao watu wote wako huko. Sasa ukihesabu kila mtaa, kila estate, kuna mahali unaona kioski ya mtumba, kuna mtu amedeliver hiyo kama mtu wa motorbike. Ukiangalia watu wote ambao wamekuwa wakisaidika kwa hiyo business, watu wengi wameadhirika. Kwa sababu kulingana na hiyo strategy tumefanya, unaona hata kuna mambo mengine tuna facilitate. Tukitoka kwa mitumba tukienda mahali mtu ananunua kitu kingine, ana promote biashara nyingine. Kuna matatu zinakujaga huko soko, zinabeba watu, zinawaleta kwa soko asubuhi, jioni zinawarudisha. Tuseme ni pesa mingi imepotea.
Okay.
Hiyo wakati.
Pesa mingi imepotea. And when you look at that sector, mitumba sector, Wakenya wengi wamekuwa wakiambiwa, rather waki-encouragewa, they buy local products, you know, Kenyan made products. But most people still aggravate to the mitumba sector. So what makes it very attractive for the Kenyan?
Unajua kitu moja, kama hata zamani wakati tulikuwa na textile kidogo, you cannot afford the prices of the new clothing. Kwa sababu kwa mtumba unapata hata nguo ya kuanzia hata 10 shillings. You can get a t-shirt for 10 shillings. For that bob. Kumpia kupata, kama vile unasema tunaguza APZ, tunaanza textile leaders zingine, unapata kama unapata trouser mzuri ni ya kutoka 1000, 1500. Kuna watu wa kibarua, mtu wa kibarua asipata hiyo pesa kununua nguo moja. So mtu akiwa na 200 Gikomba anavaa kiatu ya 100, t-shirt 50 na trouser 50. So mtu amefaa 200. So it's not very easy kuenda kwa hiyo textile mara moja kama hatujajipanga. We need hata kama ni serikali jipange vizuri, iweke textile industries mingi. Hiyo sio mago siwe avoidable. Tuweze mate siku moja haitafika hiyo. But we have to go parallel. Yao wanaendelea na wengine wanaendelea because we cannot go lash haraka tuseme tumeanza mambo ya vitu mpya na tujatengeneza mafactory, tujafanya hiyo, tuna hiyo cotton ya kufanya ya kutosha, because itafika watu tena waanze kuwa na shida ya nguo, kwa sababu saa hii ukifaa, hata kama nimevaa, unaona niko na jacket, niko na shati, niko na nguo safi, yote ni mtumba. Na kama unakwenda kwa duka, hizi kama almost kitu kama 20-50,000 ukinunua na bei ile sasa ya duka.
Okay.
So you can compare a jacket 3,000, shati kama 2,000, hiyo bei ukihesabu mtu mmoja anaweza faa 10,000 kama ni mpya. But hiyo 10,000 unaweza nunulia familia yote nguo na hata marafiki zako, because nguo ziko na mpangilio. Kuna zile tunaita kamera, kuna zile second loud, kuna mpaka ile ya mwisho ya kufagia. Na sana sana watu wajui vile inaenda. Tunasema kama hiyo, tunasema cream, unaziona hata hapo huko kwa parliament, mabuga wamevaa masuti, imetoka kwa hiyo line. Juu hata I afford ile mpya, because mpya hiyo pesa max pesa ni kama 80,000.
Okay.
Na hizo nunua suti kama 20 na hiyo pesa itamsumbua hata yako na mambo yanafanya. So mimi ningesema hata kama tutakuwa na hii mambo ya nguo mpya, hatukatai. But it have to take time. Mtumba inaendelea nayo sasa, serikali yaanze kuweka mikakati, tutakuwa na textile industry, tuwe na cotton allowed, ndio tuwe na a good competition. Hata kama saa hii kwa mfano tuko na watu wa EPZ na hizi nguo kwa nazo ni chache kulingana na vile nafikiria na naona, because ukihesabu wala watu zinatumika Kenya ni mingi sana.
So hiyo sector ya mitumba, is it ready for that transition when the time comes?
When the time comes, no problem. That is why we have the organization, Mutumba Association of Kenya. Because we are ready anytime to shift pole. Because we can also like buy Kenya, build Kenya, but it cannot come immediately. So we need to have some people who be doing this and this, so that we go parallel. But we cannot just finish Mutumba and then we move on and say we go for the new clothing. It is not possible. It's not possible, because hata hiyo capital ya kwenda kununua hizo vitu, hizo maduka tuko nazo kuuzia kusupply si rahisi. As I understood, niliambiwa kama trouser mpya sasa ukinunua na wholesale ya jeans 1,000. If you want to have a bale kama moja hiyo unasikia ya mtumba inakuwa na nguo karibu 100. So how much does that one cost? 100,000. How many people will afford that capital? Yeah, one bale at 100,000. So very few. If you say mambo ya kwenda kununua na pieces, sikatai. But supply yetu ni kubwa. We have a big supply, whereby we cannot rely with one item, pieces item. We need to take it in bulk, because we sell up to Mogadishu. Outside country, we sell a lot to Rwanda. We take Mutumba outside the country. Yeah.
The argument has been that hii sector ya textile ikigrowiwa locally, there'll be more jobs for people than even as is right now with the mitumba sector. What do you think?
No, it's okay. It's okay, na tunaona ni kweli, but if it have not been done, we only say something is good when it's done. For now, we cannot say ni mzuri ni mbaya. No, let them start that one. They start the company, they start growing the cotton, they start the cotton textile industry. We start buying from them. Yeah.
Okay.
We are very ready about that.
So as long as the product is available,
we have no problem. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think the government should do now?
The government should think about reviving the factories and growing the cotton in large quantities. Because the population now is very high. It's not like the long time ago when we had 21 million, we have more than 50 million Kenyans.
Right.
And when we talk about those factories, we need like a chunk of land to be set aside for growing cotton. We also need to have textile industry in every county. That one can help us in a big number, because we shall get employment. We shall also be, as a business people, we shall be importing this clothing from Kenya to other neighboring countries.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so there was a time when Kenya was exporting quite an amount of cotton and even textile products. That went down from the 80s up to now, you know. So what will it take to get us back there?
It's a matter of just planning. Planning and government intervention. Government to have to set aside some land for that. You know, if you want to grow cotton for that's big, whatever, this should not be an individual business. This should be taken up by the government or the ministry. It's possible. They set aside some acres, 1,000 of them in every county, so that you can grow cotton. After there, they set those factories in every county or every county that can grow cotton.
Yes.
Then from there, they will employ people. We as the customers will go there to buy in a cheaper place so that we can, our people will be in a position to buy those items. Kama sasa ni kama hizo shati mtu anakuwa ananunua shati na ile bei inafaa, because ukiangalia vitu zingine tunaona kwa mtumba ni ile vitu inatumika na kila saa, now and then go ya mtoto, tops za ladies, shati hizi tunafanga hizo vitu kama zinapatikana kana bei mzuri haina shida. But ukisema mtu aende kama hiyo factories zitengenezwa siwe hata na competition, kama county fulani na compete na county fulani, unajua sasa mimi nikaona kama nilikuwa Nairobi nienda Nakuru na nunusia bei kali, naenda Wasinigisho. Kama hao wanauza barikali naenda Mashakus.
Yes.
At least unaenda mahali unasikia. Na ukikuja na hiyo mzigo hapa unauzia watu, unapata hata kama profit ni kidogo, we look at a volume, we don't look at a margin of profit mingi. Watu wa mitumba tunaangalia ga volume. Like now you can be getting 50 shillings per item, but you have sold 50 items. So you have a good number. If unauza nini, yani we count pieces. That's why you get your money. But the idea here, upate volume kubwa.
Larger volumes.
Larger volumes, hata kama unapata small money, little money, you don't care. But tomorrow still you are there. It's a continual business every day, every day, every day. Kama kuna sector ya trousers, huwa anauza trousers every day. Kutoka Monday, Friday, January to December. Na saidi ona watu wengine wanaenda nyumbani. Akiona line ya trousers imeisha, yeye anafanya anafunga vilango. Akienda kwa nyumba nayo imefungwa, labda anataka pesa. Nakwambia kuna shida kubwa. Mwingine naye anauza mambo ya sweater. Sikiisha ameondoa. Because atakuwa kwa section mali tukao tunauza inakuwa assorted. Kuna mali ya jeans, kuna mali ya koti, kuna hali ya trousers, kila kitu ya nguo za watoto. Kila mahali kuna sekta imewekwa. Na kile kitu nakuja kama imekuwa belled namna hiyo. Hata imeandikwa with capital letters. Hii ni bele ya shati, hii ni bele ya trousers. So hata hiyo mtumba is more organized. Vile watu wajuangi, watu wanaona mtumba nadhani vitu tu simehangiwa kwa barabara. It's a very good business. Na imepangiwa vizuri by the way.
Right.
Yes.
Sasa government support ya government kwa hii industry. Definitely umesema ina support millions of people.
Yeah.
Directly and indirectly.
Yeah.
Support ya government kwa hii industry unaiona vipi?
Okay. Kwa saa hii
apart from the ban iko.
Apart from the ban, I can say the government need to think about this, the business. If at all we introduce the textile industry on another, the EPC and the rest, let us this go currently. Mtumba inaendelea na wengine wanaendelea because wengine waanza kuintroduce watu wengine kwa go mpya, wengine wabaki kwa mtumba. Hata if at all that you go mpya italeta profit, everybody will go there.
Yeah.
Mtu anakibia mahali anapata kitu.
Ni biashara iko.
So if they block the competition, hata tuletewa hiyo mafactory tufanyiwe hiyo kazi tufanye, hata mimi siwezi kwenda mahali nisipati kitu. Even hata sisi tungetaka kupata go mpya if possible. But it's only that it's not possible. Ungetaka kupata go mpya kila kitu mpya, lakini there's problem because utakuwa una afford na prices ziko juu. Serikali tena unajua pia hata kama ni mambo ya hiyo mambo ya importation duty nini, sisi tukisema tutafanya hiyo tutafanyia Kenya, tutaimport sasa, sisi ndio tunapata pesa sasa. So it will be on our advantage on our other side. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the conversation continues about textile industry. We now want to take you to Mbagathi. The Chief Executive Officer there is having a press conference. Let's listen in.
Future. So again, following up with our appeal, we again appeal to Safaricom and other able corporate members to come into our aid, because that's why we're in this world, to improve lives, do your part, and depart. Now that being said, now I want to actually acknowledge the Safaricom and trustee Mr. John O'Hager. This is a good, commendable job in respect to giving our citizens the PPEs and the aid to fight this COVID, which is big time all over the globe. If you see all over the world, everybody's dying. And now this ain't no joke no more. We are trying also as a personnel to create awareness and also to just instruct 3 simple things. Please, wash your hands, put on your masks, and keep your social distance. This will help us a lot. Now, given that we are serving the underprivileged society, Kibera, you know, is around here, and this is their hospital. This is what they have. And definitely we want to keep it as the way they have it. You can see under the leadership of the HMT, that's Hospital Board of Management, we actually just kind of built a new customer care center to decongest the other side of the OPD. If you go on the other side, it's a different case altogether. Now, we can't open this because we still don't have seats for people to sit, but as you can see, it's complete. This is now one of the facelift of the hospital, and others are coming down at the NMS. So we recommend, as a matter of fact, the DG, Nairobi Metropolitan Services, and I'm sure the representative is here, Dr. Kibe, and we really appreciate that, and we are on target in respect to uplifting an hospital and building a healthcare that we can all appreciate, and we can all actually stay in the country to be served by our able doctors, nurses, and the personnel. We acknowledge that. Now, finally, I have to say that I'm welcoming the community to Bagathi. I know one of the officials mentioned the paranoia of coming to Bagathi because of the COVID. That is true, but we are saying we are open for business. We observe all the protocols in respect to COVID, so nobody should fear to come to Bagathi, either to see your loved one or to seek treatment in all those departments that Dr. Mutai mentioned. So please, Bagathi is open for business, and we're observing every hygienic protocol to combat the COVID-19, and we shall all overcome. So I'm also sending this message to you and your family. Please pass this message, because we are all responsible for our health in respect to personal initiative to your children and to everybody else, so that we all stay safe, and especially now that COVID is here with us. Given now that I'm a very handsome man, but because of the mask, everything is actually absorbed in the mask, so I only have my forehead to speak for itself, right? So protrude your forehead, guys, and thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sarah. Thank you for your support. Our next speaker is a representative of the Deputy Director of the NMS, Dr. Kibe, who will introduce the other NMS guests.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mutai, colleagues and invited guests. Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Dr. Kibe Victor. I head the Division of Non-Communicable Diseases and Nairobi Metropolitan Services, and I'm representing Dr. Oluga, the Deputy Director. And I want to thank Safaricom Foundation, the hospital management and the hospital board, and even you, our dear colleagues, for the fight that we have put since COVID came into our country. We are cognizant that we are living in new normal, and we appreciate the fact that you have been there, supported by this team and others who are behind and beyond us in the fight against COVID. What I don't have many remarks to say, but I would like to say that as Nairobi Metropolitan Services, we are cognizant of the welfare of our staff, all of them, including the casual laborers and everyone else, all the way to the senior management. And allowances, we are working on that. We are hopeful that now that we've started our new financial year, beginning 1st of July this year, we have resources which are going a long way to support the healthcare professionals during these times of COVID. I would also like to say that in this new financial year, Mbagathi Hospital, we have committed 523 million shillings through development and recurrent projects through NMS, which is going a long way to support the ongoing projects, improvement in development capacities, capital projects for this particular facility. Other than that, I would like to thank all of us for the fight that we put. I know it's been difficult, it's been tough for every one of us, and I'm also privileged. Actually, I come here more often than new people may think or know, because I'm in charge also of the all isolation and quarantine.
That is the ongoing flagging off of PPEs, protective equipment, to the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, that is the KMPDU, at the Mbagathi Metropolitan Hospital. Those are officials from Safaricom, as well as George Osewe speaking earlier, the chairman of the management board at Mbagathi Hospital. That is going on, and our reporter Irene Muchuma Odem will be bringing us details from that event in a little bit. Here in studio, we are having a conversation on matters the mitumba sector of the textile industry and how that is panning out. Remember, there was a ban on importation, and we are with Peter Kagiri. He's the coordinator of the Mitumba Association of Kenya. Kagiri, thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
When you have these the people who are involved in selling these mitumba, most people think that it's quite an informal sector, you know, without any much organization. How do you think, how is this sector organized?
Hii sector ni organized vizuri sana. Na iko na chain of distribution kutoka kwa importer, tuko na wholesalers, tuko na brokers, tuko na retailers. Kuna watu tunasemaka ni wale wa hawkers wanasugua, kuna watu wa kamera ndio wanakuwa na exhibition town, kuna hawkers, kuna hata wengine wanaitwa wa kufagia. So it's a chain. And kama wewe unafanya mambo ya boutique, wanaenda kwa kamera, wewe uende kwa fagia. So kuna ile mpangilio iko. Kama ni mahali ya soko, kuna mahali unaenda, unaona area hii kama imetegwa tu ni ya jeans peke yake, ile ni ya blouse peke yake. Na pia hata hizo nguo ziko na, kama ni blouse kuna cotton, kuna poly blouse, hivyo sote ziko separated. Si ati kitu unaenda imechanganyika namna hii, hapana. Ni kitu unaenda ukijua, unaenda hapa unapata kitu fulani. Na kila sector, hata kama kuna wale watu wanakujanga, ndio kuna customer, kila mtu ana customers wake. Hivyo tu customer anapitana ndani, huyu ametoka kwa huyu, ametoka kwa huyu, because ni soko free. Na mtu anauza kitu yake vile mumeelewana na customer. Kuna zile base imewekwa kwa a given item. Kwa unajua kama naenda kuchukua browse, tunachukua kama ni kamera 200. So mtu wote anajua, hata ukienda kama umekuja ukiwa mgeni ama umekuja wapi, hakuna mtu atakuweka pia, price ni moja ya hizo vitu. Kuna mpangilio pia, kuna watu wa pasi. Wale unajua hizo nguo zinakuja zimeshikana kwa bell. So ndio hata ionekane ni kamera mpaka ipikwe pasi, nyoke ikae sawa sawa. So na pia unaona ako kwa biashara. Kuna tailors, wale unaona wanaweka vifungo nini, labda nguo ilikuja bila zip, inawekwa, wako hapo kwa the same industry. Meaning kila mahali kuna mpango. It's only that kama huko karibu na hiyo mpango wewe siona. Ukitaka kujua kuna mpango, enda hiyo area uone zile banki ziko around. Imezungushwa na mabanki loud. Ukata pale kuna CFC, kuna Family Bank, National Bank, Equity, imezungushwa na banki kwa sababu kuna kitu kinatoka wapi?
Hapo.
Mimi vitu beki kutoka hizo banks zitaondoka. Kuna insurance companies zimejaa huko. Zimekuja hapo because watu wanafanya nini? Wanainsure vitu sawa. Tuko na security officers, tuko na polisi, tuko na watu meajiri wa vibanda. So unasema hiyo ni mahali imeorganiziwa vizuri.
Right.
And kila sector iko na chairman wake. Kama ni pande ya pande hii, kuna chairman wake. Tukitaka coordinate hata kusema kitu, tunasema kwa mtu mmoja tu. Enda waambie mtu fulani. Na tunataka hii kitu iende yote Kenya mzima. Because pia tuko na branch representatives kwa makaunti. Yeah.
Sasa okay, we are continuing with this conversation in a little bit, but first let's go to the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya. He is showcasing the gains that have been realized in the coffee sector from the recently announced coffee reforms. Let's listen into that.
Kisii and Bugoma, where we also have our facilities. As a show of confidence by coffee farmers, the ongoing coffee reforms and the important role New KBC is going to play in the process, the milling plant started receiving coffee from farmers on the 29th of June 2020, and so far received 2,000 bags, equivalent to 100 tons of coffee parchment in 1 week. Just opening, and already 2,000 bags were delivered, and the delivering is going on daily now. Moreover, between January 17, to May 27th, 2020, the new KBCU, the Dora milling plant received 9,341 bags, equivalent to 434,285 kilograms of coffee parchment for milling and marketing. All the coffee parchment received at the new KBC Dandora mill have already been processed into clean coffee and sold to both local and international buyers. The new KPCU has sold over 1,000 kilograms of all the clean coffee locally at a total value of about Kenya shillings 18 million. This money has already been disbursed to the respective factories and farmers' cooperative societies. In addition, last week, the new KPCU managed to sell all the remaining premium grades of clean coffee at very competitive prices as follows. A, 30,083 kilograms of AA at $6.8 per kg, which is equivalent to Kenya shillings 714 per kilogram at an exchange rate of Kenya shillings 105 to the dollar. B, 92,085 kgs of AB at $5 per kg, equivalent to Kenya shillings 526.5 per kg or per kilogram at an exchange rate of 105.8 to the dollar. And 9,774 kgs of PMB grade at $5 per kg, equivalent to Kenya shillings 526.5 per kg at an exchange rate of 105.3 to the dollar. And lastly, lastly, 40,753 kgs of zinc grade at $4.6 per kg, equivalent to Kenya shillings 483.4 per kg at an exchange rate again of 105.3 to the dollar. The gross cumulative value of this sale by new KPCU is $901,322, equivalent to Kenya shillings 94,909,207. After deducting new KPCU milling and marketing charges at Kenya shillings 7.3 million, the net payout to farmers is Kenya shillings 87,536,518. I'm therefore pleased to announce that the new KPCU has already issued payment instructions to the bank to pay the farmers' cooperative societies and their factories today. And the societies are expected to make the payment to the farmers in the coming week. Now, one other important point to note is that, and all this coffee been sold at the last coffee auction at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, where the auction prices were $6.2 per kg for grade AA, $3.52 per kg for grade AB, and $3.2 per kg for grade PB, and $2.4 per kg for grade C. The coffee would have fetched a gross cumulative value of Kenya shillings 73,792,450, which is about 21 million or 28% lower than the 94.9 million the new KPCU has received through this sale. This inaugural coffee sale by new KPCU is therefore a major indictment of the price discovery process at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. It is inconceivable, in my view, that a direct sale would discover coffee prices better than a coffee auction if the auction process was efficient and transparent. And this particular discovery gives significant impetus on the need for serious reforms at the coffee exchange. And lastly, in order to enhance transparency and accountability in coffee sales, henceforth, all coffee marketing agents will be required to disclose and publicize the prices for all coffee they sell through direct sale on behalf of farmers in the manner demonstrated by new KPCU today. And the Agriculture and Food Authorities therefore hereby directed to ensure compliance with this directive. If you are a marketer and you are selling coffee on behalf of cooperative societies, we are therefore requiring you, as part of the condition for continuing to give you a license to sell coffee, for full disclosure of the prices at which you sold farmers coffee. And then so that farmers can know the charges you are charging for milling, which is also, again, must be disclosed. Then they can be able to know how much they are making. Otherwise, any opaque arrangements where you make an arrangement, you only tell them, oh, this coffee was bad, I don't know, this coffee was this. We are not going to allow that anymore. So nimepeana hiyo amri kwa shirika la Hafa kuhakikisha yeyote yule anauza kahawa kwa niaba ya wakulima ambaye ako na license ya kuuza, hakikishe ya kwamba hiyo habari imetolewa kwa wakulima ya bei ya ile kahawa imeuzwa, na pia Hafa iweze kupata hiyo habari, ndio tuwe na uwazi kwa uuzaji wa kahawa. Ya pili, hii uuzaji tumefanya sasa, na ndio ya kwanza kwa shirika hii mpya ya New KPCU, inaonyesha ya kwamba clearly kuna shinda pale kwa coffee auction. Hakuna transparency hapo. Ile rules ina operate hapo haileti uwazi na isaidii kupata price ambayo inahitajika. Kwa hivyo wiki hii nimeanza harakati ya kutengeneza sheria mpya ya coffee auction. Tumeanza hiyo ambayo itahakikisha ya kwamba kuna uwazi pale na hakuna cartelized trading katika hiyo soko. Na ningetaka niambie media waende wafanye uchunguzi wao, wataona hata ile price ambayo huwa tunaambiwa ndio price ya pale, ni kweli hata si hiyo price. Kwa sababu ile price wanapeana, the one they call average pricing, they give the average of what is noted. They never give the average as what is confirmed. Yet what is confirmed is actually the price that the coffee is eventually sold. So already I've given them a directive to ensure that the price they notify the public, because it's a benchmark on which those who sell direct base the price negotiation with the people they sell to. I have told them they can only publish the actual price that the coffee has attracted there, not the noted price, because the noted price are usually lower than what eventually the coffee is sold. So when you give the noted price instead of giving the confirmed price, you are depressing the prices and therefore also attempting to depress the prices for those who are engaged in direct sales. And there are many other reforms we are also going to undertake there. We don't want to preempt what we are doing, because clearly there's a problem there, which we must address to make sure that transparency operates at the coffee exchange, and the prices of the coffee at the coffee exchange have to become real benchmarks for any other sale that takes place for coffee. That is also a major reform that is coming, and already we have started drafting those new regulations and new rules. We are also reviewing the regulations that were passed before I came in. They have a lot of inadequacy, and we want to address them also. General regulations and also the rules operating at the coffee auction. The trading rules at the coffee auction. Within the next 3 weeks, I will be submitting those regulations for public participation for us now to move that agenda to the next level. For the period we will be looking at the coffee and the coffee sector, clearly there is no problem with the prices. If you produce good coffee, you should be able to get a good price. There is no problem with the price. But there is a lot of middlemen in the middle here who control the trading, who depress the pricing, who also make sure that there is no disclosure on exactly what is being sold. And therefore, that is what we want to address. Even as we address the production, even as we support the farmers with inputs to grow their coffee, we must also address the trading so that the earnings of the farmers can improve. Thank you very much. Unless there is a question, I think we are done. Oh yes, there is the damage check that we must now present to the farmers so that the farmers can.
Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya there giving his views about the coffee sector, saying that he will give the reforms or rather implement reforms on ensuring that the price depression tactics by middlemen are countered. He also says that there is a problem or a lack of transparency at the coffee auction that is affecting the pay for the farmers. He says that there will be no cartelized trading moving forward, that he will clamp down on those middlemen who are ripping off the farmers. That is the Agriculture CS, Peter Munya there. Well, Benson Rioba is on that bit and he will be bringing us details in our subsequent bulletins. Here in studio we are with Peter Kagiri, and he is the coordinator in charge of the Mitumba Association of Kenya, and we have been discussing the status of the second-hand clothes industry in Kenya. Kagiri, the people who are in charge or who are in this business, you've explained to us clearly the organization that exists, how much there are structures and all that. How important is it in terms of training for financial literacy for these people?
Or they need to be trained, because some of them does not know, they have not gone to this level of knowing how to manage chunk a lot of money, especially the young people who are coming to the market. You know, like that business, you need to train. Whenever you come to that business, you have to have somebody to train you, so that you can manage, if you can know how to do it, because you cannot just go and start doing it. So you need to have somebody akuonyeshe vile inahesabiwa, akuonyeshe vile inausangwa. Tena pia kuna wale wana ujuzi wa pesa. Kwa mfano, unahesabia mtu usiende kwenda kutafuta pesa mahali itakusubua. Enda kama banki ziko huko, unaenda unachukua loan, unamwambia anasaidiwa asije akajimes na nini. Tena pia tunaangalia ile ukora ilikuwa kwa zamani tuliondoa. Ile tunaweza enda huko kwamba ufungue turuhusa uwekewe mawe, hiyo kidogo ya kunanga, hiyo ni propaganda. Kama ulikuwa unaenda kununua kitu fulani, unanunua exactly ile kitu ulikuwa unataka kununua. Tuko na watu wengi wetu wanasafiri pale, na ukionekana uko na shida kama unafukuzwa kwa soko. Tena hata kuna mtu anaweza kubali, because kama ni belo moja unauza iko pale, iko na pieces zaidi ya 200 isaguo. So watu watakuwa wamekaa allowed, they cannot tolerate any nonsense kama hiyo. Hiyo mambo ya pia matumizi ya pesa, ya kupata mambo ya pesa, tunasema mambo ya SME, ile hajawahi patikana kwa soko. Tulikuwa tunalilia serikali ya vijana wetu wadogo wanakuja pale, watu renew na wanapewa pesa kidogo. We can have a small office that will be catering to those young people. Wale wamekuja bila pesa. Although vijana wanakuwa na advantage, vijana wanaanza na kubeba. Unakuta kijana ameanza kubeba, ameenda hivyo mpaka sasa hiyo unamuona kwa barabara anaendesha gari maleta container. Kama mimi, hata mimi nimebeba ile pota, kubeba kutoka kwa stock peleka kwa ile nyingine. Kwa siku kibeba mizigo kama 50, uko na 200 yako na 50. Na hiyo pesa kama ni kijana mdogo hata kuna wengine wanapata mpaka from 500 to 2000 a day. A day. So wao wanakuwa na advantage because wana advance. Hata tena wanatoka hapo. Sasa akijua customer fulani anataka kitu fulani, anakuja na kuongeza mia yake gapi? 5. Anasema anauza 11.5 na alikuwa anauza 11. So atakubebea na kukula mia ngapi? 500. So wako na hiyo ujanja wa kusurvive. Na watu wale sana wengi wameinuka ni wale walianza chini. Okay, sasa ban ikitolewa, Oratha, unaweza sema nini kwa government about the ban now? Kwanza kabisa tuseme asanti kwa hiyo government tayari imetengeneza, imesema tutengeneze mikakati ile inafaa tufungulie soko. Hiyo ni jambo la maana sana. Hata tumesema rais asanti, kwa sababu ikikaa namna hiyo tukiendelea kuwa na shida. Na kitambo sasa tufungulie, tutakuwa tumeenda mikakati zaidi. Kwa mfano kama leo tumekuwa na hii mambo ya ku make sure kila store iko na maji ina LAN, kuna sanitizers. Juu tuna expect some government, tuna expect hata sisi tukuje tuangaliwe na watu wa health, waone kama tumefika ile kiwango wanataka. Because hatutaki kufanya kitu tena tusikie tumefungiwa soko. So we are very careful as leaders before hata kuwe namna gani tutafanya kila mahali iko sawa sawa. Hata tuta invite MOH wakuje waangalie kama tuko sawa sawa. Hata wakifungua wajue wamefungua watu wako serious, because we are leading for the business. Na pia tutaki kucheza na mambo ya maisha ya watu ya wanaishi, because tukisitaki mtu akuje huko apate corona ama tutete corona. Hiyo zote tumeangalia na tunatafuta njia zote, hata kama ni pande ya kuingilia na kutoka, tutatafutia hizo vipimo thermometer, kama temperature na kusidi uingie kwa soko. Tunafanya mikakati. Samani tulikuwa tunatumia tu maji kuoga, na sasa tumechukua hiyo hatua pia ya kuwa na thermometer. Juu tunaweka watu wale wanafaa. Tuko na entry 2. Tuko na entry 3. Pande ile sasa hiyo tunaweka vijana, watu tutakuwa tunawapatia pesa. Kazi yao ni kufanya nini? Kupima watu. Kupima watu. So that's something inaendelea, hata maybe by tomorrow itakuwa imefanyika. Kwa tusema kama mambo ile yote serikali ministry inataka tufanye, tutafanya. Pia tunaangalia safety yetu. Hatuangalii tu serikali, tunaangalia safety yetu. Na safety pia customer wetu. Because ni biashara inaendelea. Na tuko hapo, tuko wasasi, tuko na manyumba, tuko na watoto. Ukipata ugonjwa utapeleka nyumbani. Hiyo sasa tuwezi kubali. Hiyo sasa tumechukua jukumu kama viongozi, tupange hiyo mpango ili at least kila mtu mahali anapitia anafanya nini? Anapimwa.
Na ukiangalia ununuzi wa mitumba, watu wengi hupenda kuchanganya ama ndio waweze kupata the best product. Sasa hiyo inamaanisha watu wengi watakuwa wanagusa nguo. Mko na mikakati yoyote kuhusiana na hilo?
Kwa hiyo mikakati, unajua unlike vitu kama nyanya na kitunguu, nguo ni so tricky. Although kuna sasa kuna namna hii, kuna wale wana hang. Ukipoint hilo umepoint ndio unapatiwa. Kuna wengine wanataka kamera. Bili anachukua yake anaweka wapi? Hapa. Hapa, na akitoka kila muuzaji ako na sanitizer yake. Mkimalizana na huyu, hata kuchukua pesa, mkimaliza una sanitize. Mwingine anaingia hapa anachukua ile yake. Anachukua ile yake tena na sanitize, because tunajua hiyo ugonjwa hiyo tutaki take any risk, any chance ati tusikike hii kitu ilipatikana kwetu, hapana. Hiyo tunajaribu juu chini.
Okay, sawa sawa. Asante sana. Well, just give us your closing remarks now.
Ile kitu ningesema ni asante kwanza kuwa kwa studio, tunaongea na Kenya mzima mahali mpo. Na tuna hiyo chama yetu ya Mitumba Association of Kenya. Hata kama uko Kisumu uko ndani, kama uko Mombasa Moyale uko ndani. Biashara tufanye polepole na tufanye vile mambo ya serikali wanataka, ministry tujikike kwa hii ugonjwa. Rais alisema mtu ajikike sasa, na wakati kifika namna hiyo sasa ni wakati wetu sasa